we do have a good program here, and I think it's a program that's come a ways. You know, this is 13th year that I've been here, and I can honestly say that this program has passed milestones along the way. I wish I could say that every year was a incremental step forward. We've had forwards, we've had backwards, but we've come back, and I think we've continued to raise the expectations of our program. I think tradition pretty much says what the expectations are. I don't have to create them, but we're at a school that's won a national championship in 3 sports. The only NCAA program that has. You know, I watched Arkansas make a run at it this year in baseball, and I saw Florida last year make a run at it in baseball, and I think all it does is prove how special somebody that has that kind of tradition really is. So, you know, we're here to raise our, you know, our program to the standards that the university is, you know, has established in its tradition. And I think we have made progress now. This year, there are always hurdles and challenges with any football team. This one has its own. I think we've got some of the strongest strongs we've ever had. I think we've got some of the best opportunity to develop that we've ever had. I think there's more talent on this campus right now than there has been since I've been here. But I think that there's some enormous threat to how long and what we've got to go through to develop that into where we win football games. This is the youngest overall group of players that we've ever had here. I think the day we play Arkansas, the average age of 95 people on this team is 19.6. I've asked for that number, and you had to have birthdays to get that, and we have those. So that is a really young football team. At the top of that, though, are some of the best returning older players as a group we've ever had. Now, the vast majority of those are on offense, and defense is where we lost the most players last year. So we're puppies, I will say. You know, the term young folks use today when they talk about a guy that's really a good player, he's a dog, you know? And that's affectionate player-to-player kind of dialogue. Well, he's a puppy is what I'm saying. Because, you know, I think the old story, and this is a Pat Dye term here, they're going to bite when they're grown, they're going to bite when they're a pup. Well, we're fixing to find out whether them puppies will bite anybody. Because we got some of them, and I think for me, starting just right off the bat is just looking position by position at some of these young guys and seeing, you know, whether they can step up and play. You know, for me to start on a list of names, I think it, you know, probably serves a purpose. I'm afraid I'd say, you know, somebody or miss somebody, but you know, we've got some guys now that they measure out, and we've had by far the best time between January and here of guys doing the right thing, and we recruited the average ACT for our entering freshman class at 21.6. The universities is, you know, we're just a little bit higher than, very little bit, but a little bit higher than the universities entering freshman class. I just think we've continued to bring on, you know, a very credible bunch of young people. We're just, and I can see the way they went about their business, and we don't coach them in the summer. We do have a sense of their accountability because we are responsible for them. But I have a sense that we've got a bunch of young people that are maybe going to be ambitious. And it's going to take a lot of ambition for this defense to roll out there against probably the best offensive team in the country at the University of Washington. I think there's anybody out there who's got 2 Heisman Trophy guys in the same backfield. And I can tell you that they're legitimate. So, I mean, it's going to take character, and it's going to take a lot of ambition, you know, to take this thing on at a young age from on the defensive side of the ball. But we've got some old hands, a few, and you have them to talk to later, and Brooks Robinson and Demetrio Tyson, two seniors that played a lot of ball here, and I think the world of. But they've got a real burden. I think we have 25 players entering their third or fourth year. We got 70 entering their first or second year, most of them entering their first year. So, but a really solid group of people coming in. I mean, I'm very excited. Their accountability to a very tough structured regimen since January has just led me to be optimistic. We have on offense some dynamic players. I mean, we got through injury, we got Marquez back. You know, Marquez is the leader on this football team. Along with him, you know, you offensively, you look for a triplet kind of a situation where you got a runner, a thrower, and a catcher, and you have him with Sean Ely, a premier runner, and you have in Alan Bonner, a premier receiver. That becomes the foundation of saying, well, we can make plays, because you can make plays behind the line of scrimmage, down the field, and you got a quarterback that can get all that done. Now, offensive line, we got a sprinkling of young people in there, but they played. I mean, we played two freshmen, actually three freshmen, the whole second half in the offensive line, and those are Blake Burks, Max Holcomb, and Tart Milner. Three freshmen played, you know, the whole, I'd say 80% of the season last year. And so, you know, they're sophomores, but they've got game experience. They're playing with two returning senior players who are ready to be really good players. And one of them is back like Marquez because of an injury, Odie Rush, who would not be except that he broke his leg the first scrimmage we had last preseason. So maybe we have a blessing that way. I've told the offensive coaches, and you're going to talk to Coach Letson, and I'll say this about mentioning Coach Lesson. I think we had to go through some transition coaching-wise last year on defense. I think we've gone through that. We have taken a different approach defensively starting last year. It took a little longer for me to get this integrated into players at the right position, and just Chris had a lot of teaching to disseminate to me and a lot of other people. But we have a coaching staff coming back that I feel really good about. And so, I think offensively we ought to make plays. I mean, we ought to, and I told the offensive coaches, I mean, there'll be a day I'll go for it on fourth down just to make sure the offense knows that maybe their job's a little bit bigger than the defense's job, just to control, and we're going to put that burden on them. I don't think they'll flinch with it either. But we are all looking at, when, how long it's going to take, and how good is the defense going to be. No matter what you see or might think on any given day, I'm convinced we're going to be really good on defense one day. That day I'd like to be soon. Whether it is or not, I don't know. But there's some good players here, and they just need to learn to play. We have two starting quarterbacks here. Before that question comes up, I'll do it. Cody Blanchard's a starter. When you say your backup quarterback played every conference game and won a conference championship, I don't know how you call him a backup. We've only gotten one ring around here the last 4 or 5 years, and quarterback's the biggest reason you get it. So we got a championship starting quarterback. Now they just made the playoffs. It's going to run well into, you can ask Ronnie because he talks to him about exactly what his date of return is. Marquez, our starting quarterback. I'm going to get Cody in the game against Arkansas somehow. He's a playmaker, the best playmaker I think I've ever been around, and I've been around a few, and he's just uniquely got some things that are really special. I mean, defined by the play that beat Ole Miss. I mean, the throw to the back of the end zone and the shuffle pass. I mean, those are just athletic plays. Neither one of them had design even close to them. So he's an element on this team. We're looking at kicking wise. I don't know if y'all notice. Of course, you guys notice everything about sports. How often football games have come down to kicking field goals that are big games and big situations, and you know we got gosh, I have a hard time. Thomas, Griffin Thomas. Lord mercy, I can't get Griffin, I think we got a guy that can win those games. Okay, I'm gonna put a lot of pressure on him. He is the guy, and I'm gonna do as much to make sure he's game ready when those kicks come. We've got and I think this is going to be a pretty good story too for somebody. Is we've got a punter from Australia. You know, I kidded Coach Thurman because we felt like whether Cody punted this year or not, and I was beginning to worry about him doing too many things. So we didn't have a punter, and we're going to need one when his time was over with. So I said, this year we got to get a punter. Punters are hard to find. And, you know, we just weren't coming up with one. I said, well, dang, Max, go to Australia and get one like LSU. Well, that was a off-the-cuff, smart-aleck kind of statement. You know, sometime in August or July maybe, and then somewhere in October, well, no, it wasn't. It was somewhere in December, he says, well, week 3, we've got a punter coming in from Australia, and he said it very cool, very quick, didn't look at me, because we're not paying for that plane flight. And we didn't. We didn't pay for that plane flight. But for y'all to understand a little bit how this, because people may not, because I didn't, when I said it, I didn't know how this worked either, but Australia is in the southern hemisphere. See, I'm not a dumb football coach. Well, they're through with school, and you know, in November, and somebody has scouted Australian rules football. Have y'all ever seen Australian rules football? Well, the ones that have, somebody needs to explain to me, because every once in a while, when I say something to Hamish, he will say to me, have you never seen the game, Coach? And he's got me, because I hadn't. Okay, I'm thinking soccer, and he knows I'm thinking soccer, and it's not soccer. Anyway, so, but when they're through down there, somebody scouted that league and given these premier kind of players that show some kicking ability a chance to go to Las Vegas to a camp. And they train it, they come in, they give them a football. I mean, like in November. And then they film them, and they, you know, if you call them and you ask for a film, they'll send you a film, and that's how it's done. Well, we looked at the film and we're going, Lord have mercy. You know, of course, in the back of your mind, you don't realize the guy's never had on a football uniform. You know, you just seeing his leg. So anyway, we go after him, and we get him. We're not the only ones that are in this market. So we get him, and anyway, I was part of me is saying, I'm going to put a guy out there against Arkansas that's never been in a football uniform before. And when I ask him these questions, he says, because I said, have you ever been hit before? Like you can get hit in football. That's when he'll start these. Have you never seen it? I guess, is it like rugby? Because, I mean, they get knocked around a little bit. I hope so. Because when those bullets start flying, and I can tell you what, those people that come after a punt and hit that wedge, that's not powder puff. They bring some violent people, very big, running very fast at that wedge, or that shield up there. So anyway, I've got that experience waiting on me. What is that going to look like? That boy in football. What we ought to do is tape him getting into a football uniform. Anyway, so interesting things with inexperienced young people. As exciting a time as a football coach can have. I'm very optimistic. There's some very talented guys that I just want to see how their talent evolves. So the schedules was the toughest schedule this school's ever played. I think it's in my opinion, probably the toughest schedule in FCS, and probably the toughest schedule ever played in the OVC.